Suspicion can spread faster than truth, and sometimes one good deed can turn into a nightmare. Imagine this. You see a child, alone, and crying in the middle of a crowded store. You step forward to help, thinking you're doing the right thing. But before you can blink, you're surrounded, accused, and judged. A helping hand is suddenly branded as the hand of a kidnapper because of skin color. This is not just a story. It's a tense reminder of how quickly fear, racism, prejudice, and assumptions can turn an ordinary day into a life-changing storm. Welcome to Black Community Stories. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch stories. It was a hot Saturday afternoon in Dallas, Texas. Walmart was packed, the kind of packed where carts kept bumping into each other and the lines at checkout stretched back into the clothing section. Marcus Reed wasn't there for anything special, just bread, milk, and a few things for his night shift later. He kept his head low, earbuds dangling around his neck, trying not to notice the constant movement around him. As he turned into the toy aisle, he noticed something odd. A little girl, no older than 6, stood in the middle of the aisle alone. Her blonde hair was tangled, and she clutched a worn-out stuffed bunny so tightly her knuckles were white. Her eyes darted left and right, lip trembling, like she was about to cry. Marcus looked around. No adult, no frantic parent searching, no older sibling nearby, just shoppers rushing past, nobody paying her any attention. He crouched down slowly, trying not to scare her. "Hey there," he said softly. "You okay? You lost?" Her bottom lip quivered, and she nodded once. A tear rolled down her cheek. "All right, no worries," Marcus said, keeping his voice calm, almost like how he spoke to his nieces back home. "We'll find your mom, all right? Come on, let's go to the front desk." He reached out his hand. For a moment, the little girl hesitated. Then she slid her small fingers into his. Her hand was cold, trembling. Marcus stood up, looking around one last time, hoping a parent would suddenly appear. But no one did, so he started walking with her toward customer service, weaving past busy shoppers. Halfway there, a piercing scream ripped through the store. "Get your hands off my daughter!" The voice came sharp, high-pitched, cutting through the buzz of Walmart chatter like glass shattering. Heads turned. Shoppers froze. Marcus spun around. A white woman in her 30s came barreling down the aisle, eyes wide, face red with rage. Her arms flailed as she pointed directly at him. "That's my baby! He's trying to take my baby!" The little girl's hand slipped out of Marcus's instantly. She looked frozen, caught between him and her mother's fury. "Ma'am, wait," Marcus started, raising his hands slightly. But she didn't hear him. Or maybe she didn't want to. She grabbed her daughter, pulling her close, glaring at Marcus with venom in her eyes. "What were you doing with her? You think you can just walk out of here with someone's child?" Her voice grew louder, shakier, each word dripping with accusation. Then it got worse. "You sick animal! You people are all the same!" she screamed, her voice echoing through the aisle. Gasps filled the space. Phones came out. A crowd was forming. Shoppers stared, some whispering, others holding up their cameras, recording every second. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He raised his hands higher. "I was helping her. She was lost. I was taking her to—" "Liar," the woman snapped. "He was dragging her away. I saw it with my own eyes." Before he could finish, security rushed in. 2 guards in navy shirts pushed through the growing crowd. One pointed at Marcus. "Sir, step back now." "Wait," Marcus pleaded. I didn't. Step back. The circle around him tightened. Dozens of eyes, dozens of voices, all judging, all assuming. The little girl buried her face into her mother's shirt, silent. Marcus felt the air leave his lungs. This was spinning out of control faster than he could blink. Before we dive in deeply, let us know in the comments what country or which city you're watching this story from. We'd love to know how far this story travels. The aisle felt smaller now, like the walls of Walmart were closing in. People pressed forward with their phones raised high, recording, whispering, throwing out words that stabbed at Marcus's ears. Kidnapper. Call the cops. He was about to run out with her. The two security guards moved quickly. One stepped in front of Marcus, hand on his walkie-talkie, the other angled toward the mother who was still screaming and clutching her child like she was holding her against a wolf. Ma'am, calm down, one of the guards tried, but she shook him off. Calm down. He had his hands on my daughter, she shouted. I know what I saw. He was taking her. Look at him. She didn't just say it. She spat it, her words sharp enough to cut. Her eyes flicked up and down Marcus's tall frame, his dark skin, his plain t-shirt and jeans, and she made sure everyone else saw him the way she saw him. Marcus tried to keep his voice steady. I found her alone. She was lost. I was taking her to the customer service desk. But his words sounded small compared to her rage. He's lying, she barked, hugging the child closer. People like him don't help, they take. The crowd murmured. Some nodded at her words. Others looked unsure. A man in a baseball cap yelled, "Don't let him leave," and stepped closer like he was ready to tackle Marcus if he moved. The guards now had to spread out, one holding a hand toward Marcus, the other waving the crowd back. Everyone, stay calm. Sir, keep your hands where we can see them. Marcus raised his arms higher, palms open. He could feel sweat sliding down his temple, but he didn't dare wipe it. Any sudden move might twist this nightmare into something worse. The little girl peeked out from her mother's side. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but her mother's grip pulled her tighter. Her small voice was drowned by the shouting around them. A woman with her phone out whispered just loud enough for Marcus to hear. If that's really true, if he really was helping, then why does he look so guilty? Marcus clenched his jaw. He wanted to yell that the only reason he looked guilty was because they'd already made him guilty. The first police siren wailed faintly in the distance, growing louder. The mother's face lit up with relief. Good. Finally. Arrest him. Arrest this monster before he hurts another child. Her voice cracked with fake certainty, like she wanted to convince herself as much as everyone else. The guards stiffened as the doors at the front of the Walmart slid open, and two police officers strode in, their dark uniforms cut through the crowd, hands already resting near their holsters. "Over here!" the mother screamed, waving wildly. "That's him! That's the man who tried to take my daughter!" All at once, the crowd parted, forming a circle. Marcus stood in the center, hands raised, every eye burning into him. The officers walked closer, their expressions hard, their pace deliberate. Marcus's throat went dry. He knew this didn't look good. A black man, alone, accused in front of dozens of witnesses. "Sir, don't move," one officer commanded. Marcus swallowed hard, his voice barely a whisper. "I didn't do anything. I was trying to help her." The officer's hand twitched closer to his holster. The mother shouted again. "Don't listen to him. He's lying. I saw him dragging her." The little girl looked up at her mother, then at Marcus, eyes wide and wet. She opened her mouth to speak, but her words were swallowed in the storm around her. The siren's echo faded outside. Inside, Walmart was dead silent now, everyone waiting for the police to act. And Marcus knew one wrong word, one wrong move, and this story would end in a way he never imagined when he just came in for bread and milk. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs, every thump echoing in his ears louder than the murmurs of the crowd. The two officers closed the space between them and him, their polished boots clicking against the floor tiles. "Hands where I can see them," the taller officer barked. "They're up," Marcus replied, his arms stretched so high his shoulders burned. "I didn't do anything wrong?" The shorter officer circled to Marcus's left, cutting off any chance of him slipping away. His hand hovered on the strap of his taser, his eyes cold and suspicious. The mother's voice rose again, trembling but furious. "He had her! My baby! He was walking away with her like she was his property! What kind of man does that?" Her words sparked another round of whispers from the crowd. "Didn't think I'd ever see it in real life," someone muttered. "Poor kid," another added. A man near the back shouted, "Lock him up already." Marcus shut his eyes for a second, trying to steady himself. He wanted to scream, to point to the dozens of cameras mounted on Walmart's ceiling, to shout, "Check the footage, it'll show the truth." But would anyone even listen? The taller officer spoke again, his voice hard but measured. "Sir, we're going to place you in cuffs for now, until we sort this out." "No," Marcus said, shaking his head, his voice low but firm. "I didn't take that child. She was alone. I helped her. That's all I did." The shorter officer stepped closer, lowering his voice like a threat. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." The crowd tightened in again, phones raised high like weapons. Every angle was being captured, his face, his hands, his sweat, his fear. The little girl tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mommy," she whispered, but the woman hushed her and pulled her close. The taller officer pulled out the handcuffs, the metallic rattle slicing through the silence. He reached for Marcus's wrist. Marcus flinched back, not a big move, just a step, but the crowd gasped as if he'd lunged. "There it is," a man shouted. "He's resisting." The shorter officer instantly pressed his hand to his taser. "Don't move again, sir." Marcus froze, chest heaving, palms open. "I'm not resisting. I'm not." The mother's voice cracked through the tension like a whip. "You're lucky we caught you before you ran off. I knew something like this would happen one day." Her words burned, not just in Marcus's ears, but in the minds of everyone listening. She wasn't just accusing him of this moment, she was painting him as a man who had always been dangerous, always suspicious, just waiting to be caught. The little girl tried again, her small voice trembling. "Mommy, Quiet," the mother snapped, pulling her tighter. The taller officer locked eyes with Marcus, cuffs still in his hands. "Don't test me, sir. Hands behind your back." Marcus stood there, sweat rolling down his face, the air around him so heavy he could barely breathe. He looked at the crowd strangers glaring at him like a criminal. He looked at the mother, her face twisted with fury and fear. He looked at the child, her innocent eyes begging to say something no one else wanted to hear. And then he looked at the ceiling rows of blinking cameras, silently watching, capturing every moment. Marcus exhaled, his voice hoarse. "The cameras. Check the cameras. Please." The taller officer didn't move yet. The cuffs dangled in his hand. The crowd buzzed louder, and the child buried her face in her mother's chest again. The whole store seemed to be holding its breath. The officer's grip on the cuffs tightened. His eyes flicked toward his partner, and for a moment Marcus thought maybe, just maybe, they would listen. But the mother's shrill voice cut in again, louder than everything else. "Don't waste time with cameras. Arrest him. My baby could have been gone forever if I hadn't caught him." Her voice cracked, trembling between anger and tears. She clutched her daughter tighter, rocking her as if to prove the danger had been real. The crowd leaned into her words, nodding, whispering again. Marcus's pulse pounded. "I didn't take her," he said, his voice firm but shaking. She was crying. She was alone. "I did what any decent man would do." "Liar!" the mother shouted, pointing at him with a shaking finger. "You people are always pretending to help. But we know the truth. Don't you dare act innocent." The words landed heavy, the racial venom in them making a few bystanders flinch. Others, though, seemed to harden against Marcus even more. A woman whispered to her husband. Why else would he hold her hand? The officers stepped closer. The taller one muttered, "Sir, don't make us do this the hard way. Just turn around." Marcus's arms were still raised high. His shoulders ached. His throat burned with the weight of words he wanted to scream. But he knew how fragile this moment was. One wrong move, and he'd be face down on the Walmart floor, cuffs digging into his wrists. Another video online of the big black man resisting. He turned his head slightly, locking eyes with the nearest security guard. "You saw her, didn't you? Alone, by the toys? Tell them I didn't snatch her." The guard hesitated, shifting his weight. His lips parted, but the mother's voice overrode his. "Don't listen to him. He's manipulating you," she screeched. "That's what they do." The guard froze. The moment slipped away. Marcus's stomach twisted. He wanted to shout at the girl herself, to beg her to tell them the truth. But every time her lips parted, her mother's grip tightened, silencing her. The shorter officer finally spoke, his tone edged with frustration. "Let's move him out of here before this gets uglier." The taller officer nodded. He raised the cuffs again, stepping right into Marcus's space. The crowd surged, their phones held higher, hungry for the moment the metal clicked shut. Some shouted encouragement, others taunts. "Lock him up. Justice for the little girl. Teach him a lesson." Marcus's chest heaved, his mind raced. Bread and milk. That's all he'd wanted, just bread and milk. Now he was about to be branded something he wasn't, something ugly, something that would follow him forever. The officer grabbed his wrist. The cold brush of steel grazed Marcus's skin. "Wait." The word was soft, almost lost in the chaos. It came from the little girl. Her head lifted from her mother's shoulder, her small face pale and wet with tears. Her voice trembled, but she said it again, louder this time. "Wait, he was helping me." The crowd froze. The officers stopped moving. Even the mother stiffened, her hand tightening on her daughter's arm. The little girl blinked quickly, her eyes darting between Marcus and the officers. "I was lost. He found me. He was taking me to the front." The mother's mouth fell open. For a second, her fury cracked, replaced with shock. But then her face hardened again. "No, baby. You don't remember right. He had you. He was taking you." The girl's lips trembled. She clutched her bunny tighter. "No, Mommy. He was nice." A heavy silence spread over the crowd. The taller officer looked at Marcus, then at the girl. then at the ceiling where the cameras blinked silently. His jaw tightened. The handcuffs were still open in his hand. The crowd leaned forward, waiting to see which way this storm would break. The taller officer slowly lowered the cuffs, his eyes never leaving the little girl. His partner frowned, shifting uneasily, but neither moved to grab Marcus now. The silence inside Walmart was so thick you could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. "Say that again," the taller officer said, his tone firm but careful. The girl wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Her voice was fragile but clear. "I was lost. He was helping me." The crowd rippled with confusion. A few people lowered their phones. Others muttered in disbelief. The mother's face twisted, caught between fear and fury. She yanked her daughter closer, whispering harshly, "Stop it. You don't know what you're saying." But the girl pulled back, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Mommy, I do. He didn't hurt me. He just held my hand." Marcus stood still, hands still raised, his heart pounding in his ears. For the first time since this nightmare began, a small crack of light pierced through the storm around him. The taller officer glanced at his partner, then at the security guard hovering nervously by the end of the aisle. "Get the footage," he ordered. The guard nodded quickly and hurried off toward the front of the store. The mother erupted again, her voice sharp with desperation. "You don't need footage. You've got my word. Are you seriously going to believe him over me? Look at him." She jabbed a finger at Marcus, her words dripping with venom. "This is what they do. They trick children. They—" "Ma'am, that's enough." The shorter officer cut in, his voice cold. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. A few people put their phones down completely. Whispers started to change tone. What if she's lying? Maybe he really was helping. Damn, this is messy. Minutes felt like hours until the guard returned, a manager trailing behind him with a tablet in hand. They handed it to the officers. Everyone leaned forward as if they could see the screen. The footage was clear. The child, wandering alone by the toy aisle. Marcus approaching slowly, kneeling, talking to her. Her taking his hand willingly. Then the two of them walking calmly toward the front of the store. No dragging, no snatching, no struggle. Just a man helping a scared little girl. The officers exchanged looks. The taller one slid the cuffs back onto his belt. "Sir," he said to Marcus, his tone softer now, "you can put your hands down." Marcus's arms dropped, heavy and sore. Relief didn't come right away. His chest was still tight, his body still trembling. But the shift in the air was real. The mother's face went pale. No, that's wrong. He was taking her. I saw it." Her voice cracked, but the certainty that once filled it was gone. The taller officer turned to her. "Ma'am, the footage speaks for itself." The girl pulled free from her mother's grip and took a step forward. She looked up at Marcus, her small voice carrying through the tense silence. "Thank you." The words hit harder than anything else. For the first time since the nightmare began, Marcus allowed himself a breath that felt almost whole. But the stares around him were still there, some ashamed, some angry, some stubbornly suspicious. He knew the story wasn't going to end here, not really. The videos were already online. The whispers would follow him out the doors, maybe for days, maybe for years. Still, in that moment, the truth was finally on his side. Marcus gave the girl a small nod, his voice quiet but steady. "You're welcome." The end. Please like and subscribe for more rich stories like this. comment below. Also, if you really loved this video and want to support the channel directly, you can hit that super thanks button below.